Hello, people. This is another edition of Friday Night Knives here on A Dose of Drew. Tonight we are looking at the Chavez Street Sangre. This is a Blade HQ Special Edition M390 with the JG10. You can get different versions of it in titanium. They're for different prices. This is by no means an inexpensive knife. This is a collector style edition. This is well worth the money, but we'll get into that as we go. It is, well, depending upon how you look at it. Again, we'll get to that later. But let's first take a look at what this is. This is the Street Sangre M390, fairly robust blade stock frame lock construction. Very, very tight tolerance frame lock construction. See if I can even get a good reflection on there so you can see. Nice tight lines. Very, very good. It's not always crown on there, but it's definitely rounded so you're not going to pinch yourself. Very, very tight machining on there. I don't know if that's wire or EDM or how that goes, but that's a really small line. Action is sublime on that first little bit. There is quite a bit. We'll get to that part right there where the breakover point is. But first things first, quick little bit of weight here. She's not super light, but there's a lot of metal in there to make up for it. 4.11 ounces. So just over 4 ounces for the size of a quarter pounder right there. Yeah, she got some bits to her. And we'll do some relatively empirical measurements here where we go with a 3-inch sharpened blade length, a little under 3.5 blade length overall, just under right there. If you take a quick look, you can see the tip comes just under that. Overall length, tip is 7.5 inches, just over if you count the round. If you go by millimeters, much easier to see. It's right about 190. Maybe 194 at the round coming off there. So there you go, 19.4 centimeters. That being said, with the so-called empirical measurements, I'm not saying they're not, I'm just saying it's all relative, yo. All right, so next thing's up. This one deserves the sandwich treatment when it comes to size bits here. Do a couple quick ones. Give you a quick little bit. The large feldspar, as you can see, it is just slightly under that. And the small feldspar, you can see it fits right in between there, closer to the large and the small, but closer to the small's overall sharpened edge length with that wicked Warncliffe there. All right, so a little bit there. Do another quick little bit. I'm going to do a couple of these because this one deserves it. Do the TRM Atom and the TRM Neutron. Here they are wearing matching clothes. Just so you know, these are not dolls, even if they are adorable. All right, so next things here. Let's see if we can't get a bit of a Kershaw sandwich. There we are with the Kershaw Blur. Very, very similar in size. Almost exactly the same as the Kershaw Blur, and not just any leak, but a random leak. As you can see, the leak is just a hair shorter, but in almost every other way smaller. If you do look at this a little bit, you can see it is definitely thicker than the Blur. In fact, it's thicker than just about everything. Bring the large feldspar back to show you that the feldspar at its widest is approximately, is that shown? There we go. The feldspar at its widest is approximately the same as the overall thickness of the Sangre here. So there's that particular bit. Now we'll go with the last here, the Paramilitary 2. Size slightly larger again. Overall sharpened blade length, very similar. Warncliffe always takes a hit a little bit, and the Para 3 lightweight in this case. Once again, very, very close to the Para 3 lightweight, just slightly longer and overall sharpen length, right? It's right in between them. Really good size. Really trying to show here what a great size this is for EDC. Quick little bit here. One last bit, the Civivi Elementum. And of course, this is how it compares to my Wiener. Whatever, that one's droopy. Anyway, so back to the Sangre here. First off, the design on this, it really has a good look to it. You know it's a knife. It has a very generic sort of, I don't want to say plain. It's generic in the sense that it is classic, right? There's no super funky. Yeah, there's a finger grip right there. There's a half circle choil that really is meant for sharpening or just very, very bits of your hand in there. The ever-present Chavez skull pocket clip, which there is a plain one that comes in the box. I did the unboxing some other point in time ago. I like the skull. I think it's dope. I think it's super cool. It has a really good profile. And you see that long ramp that goes to it. So it has a really good profile for the spring, for the size of it. Makes it fairly easy to get in. Other than the weight of it, it's not bad. The aesthetics on any of these models is really good. I particularly like the Sangre with the Wharncliffe, the actually I shouldn't even say double. It's kind of got a triple angle there on the Wharncliffe. It's really good. Wharncliffe is so fantastic for most everyday tasks. And even though the blade stock is pretty thick, so you got I believe it's a flat grind. Yeah, it's a flat grind. On that Wharncliffe, it goes to really, really thin behind the edge, and that edge comes from the factory, just easily, not just shaving sharp, but smoothly shaving sharp on that teeny tiny edge there. So I've used it a little bit, stropped it back. It comes right back, well heat treated, comes right back to just peeling hair off. It's amazingly well sharpened for a factory edge. And again, just stropping it after using it, a couple of strops on a half micron diamond on each side, I'll just make the edges popping in an instant. So very well heat treated as well. M390 coated in this case. They come in, again, you can get them in titanium and other stuff. If you want to do like anodization, you can do it. So that part of the design is well thought out. The aesthetics are great. The mechanics, you saw right there, first of all, the single pin in the back along with the stuff is just classic. It's open, it's clean. You see the pin, you see the pivot, and bam, you have the knife. It's really, really clean and nice in that sense. When it comes to the rest of it, this breakover where you have to really get your thumb way down for it to close, it kind of gives you a double clutch moment where you do that and then come back down again. Right? Because right there, my lighting is not as great as it always could be, but we just make do, don't we? Right there, if you can see, like that is not going to drop. I have to go to right there before the knife will actually close on its own. So there's a fairly significant gap. If that was engaged, it wouldn't be a problem. If that was where the engagement point was, but it's right there, which does give you a double clutch moment. Some people might like that for safety, where you have to really either bring your thumb way down and find, like, I can't even get it, like it pops back. You have to maintain the closure. It's a little bit difficult. It does require a bit of a double clutching. You're just really bringing your thumb way down from where it would normally be. Just if this was your only knife, you'd get used to it pretty quick. But if you have a bunch of others, it's unusual. It's an unusual engagement point. It's not a deal breaker by any means. The rest of the knife easily makes up for it. It's just not my particular preference. But again, you can get used to it, and it works just fine. So, there's all of those particular points when it gets right down to it. But the noteworthy points, it's a Chavez skeleton key, the skull clip, the classic handle design. I don't know what they call that. I want to call it a bootleg, but I know it's not. I know there's probably another name for it, but it's a very, very classic shape on the handle. He has a drop point. There's a tanto. There's all sorts of wonderful other blade shapes. They're not called the Sangre. The Sangre is, I want to say, the Liberacion 229 with a Warncliffe. This is, I believe, the same handle as the Liberacion. If I'm wrong on that, if it's the Redemption, let me know. But I believe it's the Liberacion. So yeah, the Liberacion 229 with this Warncliffe. And I would prefer the Warncliffe went up a little bit higher, maybe up to, at the bottom of the key or something. Just would have liked a little bit higher, especially with the flat grind. But it does its job. And this thing is a tank. It is an absolute tank of a knife. It does have bearings in the pivot. Can you see? Am I getting that right? There we go. Oh, I saw it for a second. All right, so you can see there's some bearings in the pivot there. All right, so it does have bearings in the pivot. Nice, good. I believe it's made by Riot. Cost to value ratio. Look, if you're buying this and you're trying to justify it by the cost, don't. There's knives that I've already compared it to for the same price that this is. You can put together something like a PM2 in a standard thing and get extra scales and everything like that, and have a knife that is easily just as functional and good as this one for probably similar pricing or less. Right? Let's just be real. You can customize plenty of other knives for the same cost as this one, but this one, and then it wouldn't be a Chavez. It wouldn't be this. And that's really where a lot of the value comes from. It is a Chavez. It is a skeleton key. It's got the unique skull clip. It's just his style. It is something that's a little bit idiosyncratic, but every bit of it's in a good way. There isn't anything about this knife that makes it not good. And as an EDC knife, for me, it's a little heavy. Definitely like a jeans or something kind of knife, which I'm sure is perfectly within its design parameters. But as a Warncliffe, it's hard to beat. Warncliffes just do daily tasks really, really well. Drop point, you can argue drop points, you can argue tantos for their scraping capabilities and all that stuff, but really for the like opening packages, opening box, chewing up boxes, getting envelopes, all that sort of stuff, it's hard to beat a good Warncliffe. Just really is. And there's a lot of self-defense folks out there who swear by the Warncliffe design as well. You look at any of the things like the Ojimbo and that sort of stuff. There's plenty of literature and proponents of the Warncliffe design for self-defense as well. I particularly don't care. I like the, if I was to particularly go for a self-defense, I am a Karambit kind of person. But I understand very well the slashing and snap cut capabilities of a very, very well-made Warncliffe, and this is such a beast. That being said, it does over travel stop. You can see a lot of the normal stuff in there. Again, cost to benefit ratio, not very good. This is a specific audience. Like this is probably shouldn't be your first knife. You might, like, if you have the money, you're like, I'm going to get that one because I want it. This is like a $400 knife, I believe. It might be $350, $400. It's up there in the mid-tech range. It's a Riot made designer knife. So yeah, it's not cheap. These are not inexpensive by any means. These are, you can buy several knives of high quality that are useful for the price of this one, but they'll never be a Chavez. And again, that's the cost to benefit ratio. If I sit here and tell you that it's not worth it, but you're like, but it's a Chavez and that makes it worth it, then it's worth it. That's what makes them worth it, though. That's the deciding factor, not actual, is it the best action ever? Is it, is this the only clip that can ever exist that will work on a pair of pants? No. Is this some groundbreaking, revolutionary Warncliffe design? No. None of that is true. This is just a really well made Warncliffe pocket knife, folding pocket knife, and that's really what it is. It is, however, designed exquisitely well, with the clean single pin in the back along with the pivot, the absolutely clean lines on the skull that are unique, the double angle or triple angle on the Warncliffe instead of straight, it just rolls right down to it, gives it that kind of long, low, and lean and mean look. It's a design that you pay for, and the material, the craftsmanship. Let's be real. This is a Riot made knife. Riot makes things very well to a high standard, and this is one of those things. So the craftsmanship is there, but you can get similar craftsmanship for somewhat less. You can get, there's definitely some Wies and Bestecs and other Riots that are in the slightly lower range that for the money will provide a similar knife experience for less money, but it wouldn't be a Chavez. And that's really what this is. Again, I want to emphasize one more time, the extra value in this is in the design, not necessarily the materials, even though the materials, craftsmanship, and quality is absolutely top notch. So in that particular area, it falls a little bit short. And everything else, it is great, which really puts me in the 4-star range. It's absolutely exquisitely made. It's high craftsmanship. It serves a relatively unique purpose. If you're a collector or someone who likes this style, and you're like, I only want to have a couple knives, and that's one of them, I'm going to put my money on it. This is worth it. There's nothing wrong with this knife. And that's really the only thing. The biggest thing is that its cost to value ratio isn't the highest. But that's a conditional statement based upon how much you value the unique design that is a Ramon Chavez. So that being said, I'm going to start to wrap this up, you guys, because this is a very good knife. It is recommendable. The single worst thing to say about it is it's not cheap. It's not. This is an expensive knife, but it's also a high value knife. So yeah, you can get other knives. I mean, look, if you want just something that's going to get you really, really, really good cutting and daily stuff, here's a D2 Pilar 3 that is one of the better designs out there, also at a cheap price. It does not have the build quality of that. It is, however, approximately 1/5 the price. I mean, you could buy 5 of these for 1 of these or more. So, yeah, if you're just looking for that, there's definitely other options out there. Again, but not one of them is going to be carrying that skull badge right there, right? That rad skull clip right there. So that really is. And I got to say, I really like it. And the experience of owning this knife is really, really fantastic. And it is a cutter. I don't know if, let's see if you can see some of the, I cleaned it up, but you can see I use the knives I test. If I don't own them outright, I use them pretty well before I do that. I've used this one enough to have to strap it once or twice on cardboard and a few other things. Cardboard, plants, fibrous materials, tomato vines, plastic. This has seen some good use already, and it cleans up pretty good for having done all the stuff that it has. There's a few streaks in the coating that you can still see if you shine a light on it. It is not unused, but the amount of use is not reflected in that in the damage to the coating. So that's a good thing right there. And again, 4 stars, recommendable, with the caveat that you need to be able to afford it. This is a knife you save up for, or you have the money for, but it is not cheap. It's $350 to $400. I'm sure they have some titanium ones that are even going above that. There may even be some metal choices that are, different. And then if you start customizing any of it other than dyeing it yourself, the costs go up. So it is not cheap, but it is also unique and very, very well made with high quality titanium, JG10, M390 that is well heat treated in a design that is just world class. So that being said, you guys, this has been another dose of Drew in the Friday Night Knives. I am said Drew. Go ahead, take this review, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects, And remember to subscribe. This has been your Dose of Drew. I am said Drew, and that is the Chavez Street Sangre. You guys have a great night.